What was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.
What up, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land? It's the Weird and Whatever podcast. We got the whole team here. We got a sweet Denny's, a Mr. Beckett, and a Vickie. And let's just kind of knock out all of the weird holidays right off the bat. Happy National Kidney Day.
Ooh.
We love our kidneys or kidney.
So how do we celebrate that as just, non-objective third parties?
It's a great question. I don't know.
Like, you can celebrate it with, your kidney brothers.
Yes, I donated a kidney back in the day for my buddy Bigfoot, and that's about as much of a kidney tie as we have here, other than...
You need some kidney beans?
I like kidney beans. Vickie, any thoughts about kidneys real quick?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
None.
I think that's a good... She's not kidneying around. We also have... go on.
Well,
there.
I was just going to say, I think if you eat a polar bear's kidney, a human, it kills you. One polar bear kidney, I think, kills a human.
Well, interesting.
Okay.
So if you had to go on a stage and someone said, dude, you need to give me 1 minute of kidney material and you got to go on there and make it convincing, could you do it?
1 minute of kidney? Just from knowing you and that one random polar bear fact, I probably could squeeze out a minute.
That's good. It made me think of someone on this show. It's Smart and Sexy Day. Made me think of Vickie.
See, no, I looked right over here where it needs to be.
I was like, well, where's that going?
It's Smart and Sexy Day.
Smart and sassy.
So what is that? You just celebrate how smart and sexy you are?
Pretty annoying, but I think that's quite... Isn't that what everyone does on TikTok every time? I'm smart, I'm sexy.
I don't watch TikTok.
You don't? You've retired out of that game?
Or was that never... You didn't jump into that one?
As soon as I heard the name, I knew it was going to take too much of my time.
I just... Oh, boy.
Wow. Surprising, I've never heard anyone say that.
I don't... on to the next holiday. It's also National Open an Umbrella in the House Day.
For any reason?
Oh, no,
It's,
that's bad luck.
I know. That's why...
Or is that only on Friday the 13th? Is it bad luck to do that?
I
always thought it was
Is
always.
it in general?
I was raised you don't put a hat on the bed, you can't open an umbrella indoors, and we've talked about this. Baseball families are pretty superstitious, and it's kind of like how Vickie says about the Ouija board. I'm not going to poke the bear.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Beckett, because that leads us into our next topic, superstitions. Is anyone other than Beckett and myself at times superstitious?
I'm superstitious curious. I just, do I really think something really bad's going to happen if I open an umbrella in the house? No, but squeeze ain't worth the juice.
Why even take the risk?
Yeah.
And by the way, there was debate on whether it was National Open an Umbrella Day versus National Open an Umbrella Day, umbrella in the house. So there's that raging debate on the internet.
It was just so odd that one even was thrown into the hat as an idea for a day. But so is it to celebrate superstitions, or is it a practice? Do people do it in a time frame where for whatever reason?
I'm not sure, Denny's. I just know that there's a lot of superstitions out there.
I think it's bad luck to talk about superstitions.
Really? I was gonna say I never heard that one.
Tucking your thumbs in when passing a graveyard is supposedly bad luck. In Japan, people believe hiding their thumbs protect their parents from death, as the word for thumb means parent finger.
All right, that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Japan's got a bunch of those weird.
Yeah.
This one, have you heard this one before? Never place your shoes on a table for bad luck.
Not for bad luck.
For bad hygiene.
That's what I'm saying, just in general practice.
Supposed to always pee after sex. Right now.
So I think that's maybe like a health
That's
tip.
a health thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's a superstition. I think that's just
That's just good practice.
you're gonna get a bladder.
So would
infection.
would this fall?
You might get a kidney infection.
Would this fall into it? Step on a crack, break your mama's back.
Oh, yeah.
Is that that's superstitious, right? If you
Yeah.
step on a crack.
Yeah, where did that one come from?
'Cause I feel like there's so many cracks. I put so much pressure as a kid. It was driving me crazy.
And it was step on a line, break your mother's spine.
oh my
Oh.
god.
You didn't know about that one?
No.
So extreme.
So aggressive.
We were hard in Lake Park. I'm just saying.
The only one I ever did was if you spill the salt, you're supposed to throw it over your shoulder.
I'm not sure what culture that's from. Where is that from? Where does that originate from? Does anybody know?
Dumb and Dumber.
I'm not sure.
It's pre-Dumb and Dumber.
Invisible Research Department. Could you look that up for us?
Let me check.
We've got, never place your shoes on a table in the UK and some other places. Putting shoes on a table is believed to bring bad luck, possibly stemming from an old custom, placing a dead miner's boots on the table as a tribute.
Oh, all right. Yeah, they all stem from some weird thing.
Have you ever had this happen to you? They say birds flying into your house is a bad omen.
Oh, I've heard that.
I've heard it.
Have you had that happen?
No.
I've heard frogs too, but we live in South Florida.
Man, I had the biggest. It was one of the. Have you ever seen a bullfrog in real life?
Mm-hmm.
They are so gigantic, and one was on my porch, and it was being such a bully because it wouldn't let me pass, and I couldn't get rid of it. So I went, and that's when I developed the tactic of grabbing a branch, and if you shake a branch at it, the noise startles them. And it jumped into a bucket, and then I kicked the bucket. I don't want to get too much into it.
You
but
kicked the bucket?
I did, man, because it wouldn't. I was stuck out of my house for so long. I thought it was a fictional frog. It was so gigantic.
Was that like a double meaning? Why you kicking the bucket? It kicked the bucket as well?
That thing was living its best life.
And how many stories do you have where you're fighting animals?
Just animals. I don't know what it is, man.
I mean, you lead the league in battling animals.
So I was living in Orlando, and I had no idea that there was such a thing as a bullfrog. And then I found one on my porch, and I've never seen one again. Was a good friend.
I have an answer for the salt. It's actually really interesting.
Okay, what do you got for the salt?
So in Leonardo da Vinci's depiction, the painting of the Last Supper, Judas is spilling the salt.
Oh. So what do you throw it over your shoulder for, like payment to?
He said,
Because
"Hold on.
salt used to be used as current.
Let me read paragraph 4 in Wikipedia.
I'm looking it up for you, Beckett. Click, click, click.
While you're looking that up, Mr. Beckett, we will go back to the birds flying in your house is an omen. Some people believe that if a bird flies inside, it's a sign of death or misfortune coming very soon.
Ooh.
So if a bird flew in someone's house in the last week, like, shit, bird, why you got to tell me that stuff?
Not this week.
Chewing gum at night might mean you're chewing the flesh of the dead.
So chewing gum, what, like past 9 or like while laying in bed?
A creepy superstition from Turkey warns against chewing gum after dark, as it's believed it transforms into the flesh of the dead. Now, whether that is true or not, this is what the internet is saying, and we all know how the internet is. But there were many other articles citing that, and if anyone knows differently, please let us know. We never claim to be right.
Do you like Turkish delights?
I don't think I do.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
They're one of the worst.
Yeah, I think they're not quite delightful. Beckett, you wanna wrap this thing up?
Sure. So the act of throwing salt over your left shoulder is believed to counteract the bad luck associated with the spill. The superstition likely originates from the idea that evil spirits, particularly the devil, lurk behind a person's left side. By tossing salt over the left shoulder, you symbolically blind or ward off these negative forces.
Yeah, that's what the version I had heard, that's what you're doing. And just to be safe, I do it left and right, just in case there's a lower echelon, demon on this side. I do it both sides.
That makes sense because sometimes people do those salt circles, I guess, to ward off.
And salt also works for your frogs and your all those kind of things. Just put it around the perimeter of like your patio or whatever. They won't cross the line like Supernatural. They won't, because it'll burn their skin and they'll die.
So for preemptive frog attacks, that's what I'll do.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I was caught just with my pants down with this frog. I'm hoping other people have had issues.
So you are
I'm not the only person bullied by a frog.
Vickie is a little suspicious.
You're slightly stitious.
That's the only one that I do. I don't know why.
I kind of feel like if you do that, you kind of believe in superstition.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you wouldn't do any of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wasn't gonna play with the devil one,
I'll do that one where you kiss your hand and then if you run a yellow light. Just because my friend's mom always did it, and she said the one time she didn't do it, she got in a car accident. So I was like, upset.
I do see you do that a lot. That's the one thing.
I don't run that many yellow lights, but
Yeah, I've seen you do
I feel like
it.
everyone runs yellow lights now. You just have to know that yellow lights are getting run.
The only thing that happens more than you running yellow lights is you fighting animals. With all that said, I think it's time for some Ask Vickie. Vickie is our awesome psychic medium, quite knowledgeable. She's made some predictions of late. She's called a few shots. And I'm not sure how much I want to get into here on the Weird and Whatever podcast. I kind of want to save some for tomorrow for the KVJ show. You did your walkthrough. Now, today, please tell the good people how the walkthrough went and what a walkthrough is.
A walkthrough is when I go through and see if I pick up on any energy or pick up on any activity. And today's was like really bad. I had to stop at one point, back up. I couldn't go past a certain point, which would be like just past your refrigerator. I was hit with, it felt like somebody had like was squeezing my chest to the point where I couldn't get my breath. I had anxiety. It was off the charts. I had heart issues, and I just stepped back a little, took a breath, went through it. That energy continued into your living space, but not from your table over. It was just like near that entrance where you come from your living space into the place where you have the piano and then into the kitchen. But it was super, super strong when I first walked into the kitchen, absolutely covered in electricity.
So what you're telling me is they're not cool.
No, they're not happy right now.
Why, I wonder? Do you have any? I mean, do you have
You've
any?
been renovating. Do you think just the movement is stirring them up?
Movement could be part of it. It could be, there could be somebody that they're not thrilled with.
The new girlfriend.
And not necessarily, like I said last week, not necessarily that they don't like her. They don't like somebody else being here. That's going to take your focus off of them.
She does. She had another experience last night, and they keep happening. It is almost kind of like they're taunting her a little bit, but the one thing I do keep hearing that is consistent is the shuffling of someone around. It does sound odd, and that's been going on for about 2 weeks now. It does seem it's a hotbed of activity. Right. And it's a great question and a great point from a Denny's. I always wondered that. When you start moving things around, look how when you renovate a house, rats start to appear everywhere. Yeah. Is that what's happening?
They don't like when you change, because they consider this at this point their environment. So you're changing their environment without asking them, without their permission. The other interesting thing happened after the walkthrough. We were sitting here getting ready to start, and I looked over your shoulder. I clearly saw something peek in from the living room quickly and then went back out. I sat here and watched to see if it was a trick of light or anything like that, and it never repeated itself. So I have to say that what I saw definitely was not light or have a natural cause to it.
So that would be a
possible paranormal thing. It was weird because it was like solid and it was like dark brown, and it was more like the shape of, like, say, a knife or something like that. It wasn't a person. It was like an object, and it was probably, I only saw like this much of it, and it was squared off at the top, and it was tilted at this angle when it came in. So it wasn't straight up and down like this. It was like going sideways like this. I don't know what it was, but I did sit and watch long enough. It's not naturally occurring. It's not lights. It's not anything like that.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool.
So would this be the best time to try to get activity on camera or footage or audio?
That's always been the goal, Vickie. You know where I've always stood.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really active. My concern would be, I would like to, not that you need to invite me over, but I would like to see the difference when your girlfriend's here and what I feel as opposed to when she's not here. So we could see if she is definitely the catalyst that's picking up this activity.
But before I had my girlfriend, I mean, there's always been activity, and you've kind of said the activity is attached to me.
I said to see if she's a catalyst to make it more intense.
Got you.
Because it was so bad trying to leave your kitchen and going into the other areas. I almost couldn't. I had to stop, step back, recoup before I could move forward. That's how strong it was.
Now, what do you say to the naysayer, Vickie, going, "Oh, Vickie, isn't that quite convenient? All this happens right before and during the podcast." What do you say to the naysayer? Because they're out there.
I'm sure it happened all day, every day. I just wasn't here to experience it. I mean, activity doesn't choose a particular time. They're just going to be active when they're active.
Maybe they're hams and they know it's showtime.
Exactly.
I mean, that's possible, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Especially if they were hams in real life. And probably spirits are probably very playful, right?
They can be.
They can be quite playful. If you want to call it that, Denny's.
These ghosts are living rent free in your head, and you start chipping in, paying some rent.
You ain't kidding. Every single year, Beckett, it seems to go up. But that's a side note.
That's crazy that ghosts could potentially get jealous. I'd like to think, in the afterlife, I don't carry like jealousy and
No, but you're
anger.
human. You're human,
And
especially.
they haven't made it yet, right?
I just
Yeah,
feel like you
I mean,
graduate.
if they're earthbound, they haven't gone into any enlightened place where they've learned anything. If they're earthbound, they're still the same person they were when they were alive.
And they probably notice a difference even in my personality. If I'm busy doing something, whether it's having a girlfriend over here or having some friends, if I'm not giving them any kind of attention,
Right.
they're like a child. Look at me, look at me. They may. I've got a few friends that have been over here that they left immediately after something happened, meaning something flew off the counter. I don't want to say the name.
And you've had people
Twigs.
over. Yeah, also him as well. Hasn't he been over while things have happened?
Totally. Yes, absolutely. So I only ask you that because I always like to address, what the other side, because some people could go, all right, it's really convenient. But the reason why it could happen that way is because they know it's showtime.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
show ponies.
Some people, whether they were that way here or they've been stuck here long enough that they want attention, they can try to get it.
This question comes from Heidi. We love Heidi. She's one of our big supporters, always in the chat room, always leaving comments. She goes, if I'm lucky enough to make it to heaven, if there is one, would I meet loved ones that have died before my grandma's died, people before I was born? People, would you see a Lincoln?
Yeah, you could. I mean, typically when I do a reading, people show me the people that they hang out with, whether it was their friends or relatives or things like that. I have never read for anybody whose family hung out with Abraham Lincoln. But in theory, absolutely, you could run into those people.
That would be exhausting, though, for Lincoln. He's like, Mr. Lincoln, President, we have another president wants to meet you.
Another.
Son
And it
of
could be
a
that
bitch.
I've never seen it, too, because it's only his family that really gets to hang out with him.
And maybe it doesn't work in that realm like that. I always, think about, I want to meet Elvis, and Elvis is going, oh, really, man? I just want to relax today in heaven. I gotta meet somebody else. Maybe it doesn't work that way. Maybe there's a.
You're just seeing an imprint of his.
I don't know.
Memory.
I ain't got the
If
answers.
you saw an Elvis ghost, I think you'd be pretty shook up.
Oh no, no. No, you need to shake, rattle, and leave.
Get thrown in the jailhouse rock.
So throw him in the jailhouse. Oh boy.
Oh god.
I had a friend who we would be driving and trying to look cool, and the only music he would ever bump was Elvis. Elvis greatest hits, Elvis, and I'd be like, "Can we just put some hip hop music on or something?"
Oh man, I've said a few distasteful things about Elvis on the KVJ show, and there's one person who wants my head on a stick. They go, "How dare you make fun of the king?"
So I got nothing against him because I've seen a bunch of his movies. When you're trying to be cool and stuff, I don't know if that's what you should be bumping in 2002.
Have mercy, Denny's. All right, what else we got here? We've got Vickie. I've been called out for having sleep paralysis, not ghost-like activity. My wife thinks it's all in my head. I'm not seeing ghosts, but I swear I'm seeing something. I know it's sleep paralysis is. What is the difference between the two?
I mean, sleep paralysis we have it to protect ourselves so that we don't act out what we're dreaming about. I think one of the differences, you'd have to look and see if there's a pattern. You'd have to look and see if it's the same thing that you keep seeing when you have this sleep paralysis. There's a lot of different things that you'd really have to study to know the difference in it.
Okay. Are there signs from people that have died besides cardinals? Have you heard of other symbols showing up?
Like a raven.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Butterflies, dragonflies,
Oh, yeah.
people claim those.
Yeah, they say butterflies appearing at unusual times. Many believe that, especially when they land near you or follow you, they're carrying a message from the other side.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give a quick example. My son, he graduated during COVID, and so we did a drive-through graduation. When we got home, we got out of the car, and we walked up the steps to my front porch, and this butterfly started zooming us. Like, I mean, around our head, around our head, around our head. and I think it was my mom, you know. And there was another time where I was out picking weeds, and this yellow butterfly sat like right here and watched me as I was pulling the weeds. And I looked up and I said, "Hi, Uncle Sammy," and I wasn't even thinking about it. And it was actually Bobby Joe's uncle.
Bobby Joe.
And so yes, I personally think, not that I put a lot of stock into it, but I think if it's a certain moment and it's very obvious that whatever this is interacting with you, yeah, what does it hurt?
I've had some crazy experiences with some cardinals to the point where I don't see cardinals that often. At least the way I go through life, I see them. It's a rare thing. And I had seen a cardinal, and I was thinking about my mom, and she had passed away within the year or so. And I called my sister who lives in Oregon. I go, I was thinking about Mom, and a cardinal appeared, and it was so cool. And as I'm telling my sister this story, now this is in a completely different location across town. As I'm telling my sister the story about the cardinal, another cardinal lands right in front of me and just looks at me as I'm telling her this story. Wow. And I freak out. I go, "You're not going to believe this shit. There's a cardinal looking at me right now." So to your point, is it just a coincidence? I don't know. But in that moment, at least it gives me some peace or solace.
Right.
And I'll take any small win in this lifetime and ride that out.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between going to butterfly world and being zoomed by a bunch of butterflies and thinking that they're all spirits, as opposed to being in a place where you don't typically see cardinals or butterflies or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're right there in your face.
That's what my buddy said. "What are you doing out here?" I go, "Man, I'm trying to get these cardinals. I'm trying to summon a cardinal." Because you don't summon the cardinal. The cardinal summons you.
Yeah. Why do you think cardinals is the most synonymous with that?
I'm not sure if it is the most, because there's a whole list here. I mean,
I've always heard about the cardinals.
Same here. Is it because they're red? They're kind of, you spot them.
I don't know.
They're not common.
The thing that I would tell you guys that because I've had some things happen with cardinals even recently, and I just feel like, at least my experience in South Florida, I don't see them that often.
Yeah, me too.
So maybe there's other places in the country it's a more frequent thing. So the couple things that kind of give me goosebumps, I was like, well, that was a place where, we used to go eat with him all the time. And then I randomly see a cardinal like that. I don't usually see cardinals. And that's what kind of...
That's what makes it special for me. And it even happens in really strange forms. And it really is when I'm missing a loved one that's passed on. I was having a really bad day. Again, thinking about my mom and my buddy JR. My car broke down. I'm walking down the street with my bum hip. And it just was you're in a shitty place mentally. So my buddy comes, picks me up. And he could see on my face I was just in a kind of a depressed mood. He's like, "Hey, man, you just sit in the car. Just listen to some music." And I was thinking about my mom so hard, and out of the blue, this song comes on for, I think her name's Casey Musgrave, that I've never heard before. And it was kind of just like making me feel better right off the bat. It had a really cool groove. And then I'm hearing the chorus, and it's Cardinal, and it's all about cardinals and how the cardinal is summoning you, and a message from the other side. So I think there's different forms sometimes if you're open to it.
Yeah.
Again, could it be coincidence? Don't know. But in the moment, I look at it as a win.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of any other superstition or any other signs? What about coins? Finding coins in strange places. Some people believe that.
Yes.
If I see a penny on heads, I pick it up.
So heads is the lucky side.
Yeah. If it's on tails, I don't pick it up.
All right.
What have you heard, Vickie?
Well, I've been shown actually in readings that loved ones were going to leave coins and stuff for people. And then the person after the reading, the next morning, they woke up and they found whatever specific coin I told them that they were going to find on the floor or wherever it was.
Wow.
Yeah, coins are probably pretty powerful because they've been part of humanity for a long time. Trading.
They're also very old-timey, and I feel like a lot of ghosts out there are old-timey.
Could be.
I mean,
and it has value, so maybe they're passing it on.
It maybe just has something to do with what they're made of.
The metals, we can be reacting to the metals.
Yeah.
who knows what they're made of, but Beckett. Do you have any tech it with Beckett today?
Yeah.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get into some of that?
Sure.
Okay, guys, it's time to get a little tech it with Beckett, where he tells us the hottest stuff in technology, usually tech and sex.
Usually. You know, I've been trying to stay away from AI as much as possible. So, you know, I brought one thing that's a little show and tell. But one of the big stories that's non-AI is there's a new quantum computing. And, you know, listen, guys, with blockchain and quantum computing and AI, buckle up. what's happening with quantum computing. So these supercomputers that we have, this new D-wave quantum just solved a problem in 20 minutes that would have taken all of the normal supercomputers nearly 1 million years.
That's so crazy.
Just happened. So like in the nerdy world, it became a big thing. It's written in science magazines. The other thing is there's a new cell phone that's coming out where the lens comes off the camera.
Oh, that's cool.
Or off the phone, so you can
change out lenses.
Yeah, we change out lenses, but you can also move it around and then control it with the lens. You can place the lens in different places.
I'm pretty impressed with the camera phones, man. Some of these camera phones are next level. They look great outside.
I think they just recently they figured out how to turn light into a solid. Do you see that?
No.
Yeah, it's something they just figured out how to do, and they're trying to use it for. I guess they can store tons of memory on there if they want.
Is that 3D printing or it's something totally different?
Something totally different. They took light particles and they turned it into a solid through magnetic interactions. This is another thing that just happened.
I don't even remember learning in chemistry class that light was a state.
I know, it's crazy.
I hate when you guys fight.
I'm just saying, it just drops. Because I seen the quantum computer thing, which I think is amazing. But are you staying away from AI because of us or personal reasons?
Because of Jaybird.
All right.
Oh, get out.
I had a feeling I had to address it.
I gotta assimilate to this AI world we're living in.
So okay, I'll bring something that's quasi AI. So fast food chains are coming out now with their drive-throughs. Their orders are going to be all taken through AI now.
So there's not going to be a person there.
No,
You're going to be putting an order in.
It's all through AI. All of the orders.
So to me, I see where that's all going. There's got to be a human being to at least oversee. Because if you've ever had to talk just to robots, it sucks, man.
Oh, it's the worst.
You need somebody to be there and be the face of it. Because I know it's going there. I can bitch about it, but I know it's happening.
Yeah.
And I know they're going to... But what if all of a sudden, for whatever reason, and I know your perfect little robot won't mess up a sandwich, but let's just say for shits and giggles, it F's up a sandwich and you have no one to complain to or fix it. You need a person there.
Right.
You're always going to need the spirit of humans, Beckett.
I think so.
So AI will probably take over the ordering process. Do you think it's still going to be assembled by, at least partially assembled by humans?
Well, I think you'll have redundant system like at Starbucks. Like you'll see it read out, and then if something's wrong, you're just like, no, I didn't want cream in my coffee. You know what I mean? So like you can edit and amend it. I'd make a case all these AI, language learning models like. Whether your grandma has a thick Italian accent or someone has a Latin accent or they speak softly in some ways, or if the person sometimes there it's like wow you can't really hear, like in some ways it might even be more accurate over time, maybe not initially in the beginning.
I mean, just get it over with and just blow a robot.
Well, that brings us to our next part.
Yeah. And last but not least, I play tennis every morning, so it's probably not a huge percentage of the audience. No, but they have this you guys, I like gadgets. So this thing on the top, it's a new gadget, so it trains your swinging by basically how your swing so you imagine like a beer bottle, how you blow over it like a certain angle. So for like good top spin, I started playing with this, and the app does swing analysis. So right here, you swing, and if you're swinging the correct way, it whistles every time.
All right, so you can hear if it's doing.
You
That's pretty cool.
Whistle while you work.
My dad's a huge tennis guy.
I was gonna say.
Oh, I love to play with him.
Oh my gosh, he'll whip your ass.
Let's do it. Let's film it.
Oh, I would.
Because he plays every day as well.
That would be something. I think
it.
the people would come out to go see.
I love it.
Chat room, would you come out and see my dad whomp Beckett's ass on the tennis court?
That'd be a fun match to watch.
Oh, and I'm refereeing it.
I could be the ball boy that runs by and grabs the tennis ball.
Oh, it's even getting better. Yeah. This whole thing.
I'm into it. I had told my grandpa I got really back into tennis, and he was like, Ryan, I just don't understand why anyone would want to play a game where the goal is to not make love.
I mean, we all knew a sex love joke was coming from back
What
then.
else is there in this life?
Vickie, you could announce it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm there.
And if you know nothing about tennis, even better.
I do know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I'm into it.
I love it. Yeah, that would be fun to watch.
Oh my gosh.
My dad. That my dad's Wimbledon.
I love it.
I love it.
I'm into it.
Let's see here. Are you done, Mr. Beckett?
That's all.
That was good. Very
Yeah.
good
Thank you,
round.
thank you.
Learned a lot.
Broad amount of time.
I mean, let's just keep this whole fun thing going. Do you want to do the audio now, Denny's? You want to go ahead and you want to go into some Denny's random? Oh, it sounds so naked without everybody.
I don't know what we're doing. I can do either.
Just let it hang there.
Let's go ahead. Let's go into a few pieces of some audio here. Lady Gaga's talking about having psychosis. Do you know what that is? If you had to explain psychosis, would you be able to?
Don't you lose your mind temporarily?
Well, let's let Gaga explain what she went through.
Spoiling it.
I had psychosis. So I was not deeply in touch with reality for a while. And it took me out of life in a big way. And after a lot of years of hard work, I got myself back.
All right. So she went through a psychosis period.
But so there's a deeper medical term about that. Do you know about that, Vickie? And I bring that up because I thought you have said sometimes that can also, you can see certain things that are not there, and you need medical professionals to kind of go. Yeah.
I mean, a psychotic episode is a little bit different than having a permanent
psychosis.
Yeah, in my opinion.
I would think so.
Yeah, it's different than having a diagnosis of schizophrenia or something like that.
Understood.
Everybody can have, I think all of us have the potential to have a breakdown or what people would say, a psychotic, isolated episode, no matter how long it lasted. I mean, for me, I wish, this sounds bad, but I almost wish that I could zone out enough to not think about reality for a little bit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Gotta
get you that good weed.
It can happen.
Well, here's a doctor explaining what psychosis is, because I don't want to misrepresent what it is.
Psychosis is an umbrella term which encompasses a range of medical conditions characterized by psychotic clinical features. The psychotic clinical features include delusional thinking, which reflect disorders of thinking based on false or incorrect beliefs which are out of character for that individual. There are also hallucinatory experiences which represent false perceptions, hearing voices, seeing things that you shouldn't be seeing, perhaps hearing, smelling and tasting things that don't exist. The other psychotic clinical feature is disordered thinking, when one is unable to express what one wants to say, such that the listener is unable to understand or follow the.
So I've heard people say they've gone through a drug-induced psychosis, where you're seeing, oh shit, I just saw,
Well, that was my ayahuasca experience, but that was the point. It's you're literally tripping.
When you did ayahuasca, would you say you saw things from the other side or from a different realm?
Yeah, I saw my dogs that had passed away. They kind of came into my body and then went into a higher. You guys know me. I don't usually talk this. Yeah. And they kind of went into this light spectrum, like a multicolored rainbow spectrum, coming out of my chest, and there was almost a collective conscious swirling over the ceremony. It was really wild,
powerful,
emotional. It was
Did you cry during it?
I emotional, teary-eyed, but not sobbing.
Did you have that hurt that? Was there a hurt in your chest, your heart area, or was it more of a relieved kind of a feeling?
Both, actually. It was because I was still coping with the loss. And one of the reasons I took so long to get dogs is that it just beat me up so bad. And I guess in some ways it was almost like a release, kind of literally and figuratively. And it was also kind of, I think that's kind of one of the beliefs in heaven. You're okay, they're okay, they've kind of transitioned to the next side, rather than just a
hard stop,
blank space, dark space, nothing, and. just kind of, I tend to be more logical, black and white, and I try to pull myself, as we've talked about, more spiritual. So kind of open my brain up a little bit more to that,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the loss of a pet is a loss for some people that they can't even explain it. It's so, it breaks you. It absolutely shatters you. And I don't know if you really ever get over it, because you love that creature like you would love, a human. It's your buddy, it's your friend, and you would never get over the fact.
Totally.
I think you deal with it better as time goes on, but you never get over a loss that has touched your heart before.
Totally. Dr. Jane Goodall, the famous chimpanzee scientist, studied them and everything like that. She was on a late night show, and whoever the host was asked her what her favorite animal. Everyone expected her to say chimpanzees. She said, no, chimpanzees are too much like humans. She goes, some chimpanzees I love and adore, and some I very much dislike. That's the thing about chimpanzees. But she said her favorite animal is dogs. And I think it's another thing. One of those things that makes the loss so tough is like, geez, you won't. And this is kind of what she said, and that was my experience with any dog I've had. The love is just so unconditional and pure.
And some people don't have that. Some people are not animal people. There are people in my family that were just not good. I mean, I wouldn't say they hated animals, but they were just kind of like that. They just had no time for that kind of stuff. Didn't even go into their thought process.
That's fine, but they're missing out.
I agree. I agree with that. Vickie, what are your thoughts on all this? Would you ever do ayahuasca or something like that to expand your mind, or do you think that messes with your gift of?
It probably would open me up even more, but I don't. It's not something that's on my list of things to do, and I'm a very concrete thinker, regardless of the realm that I deal in. I'm very concrete. I don't think I'd ever want to do anything where what I was seeing, I couldn't confirm that it was concrete. I don't know. Yeah. Sounds weird. Sounds like a contradiction, but.
Because, you trip balls on that.
Yeah. I had never before, and of course I went to like the most extreme thing possible. Typical for me.
Yeah, you just said, but your dog's ridden your soul. And
yeah, exactly.
If you eat mushrooms, it is way more subdued. It's almost just like being kind of super duper high.
Yeah, I'm not a big mushroom fan. Everyone's like, oh, it surprises them about me with my personality. Mm-hmm. They think I would have I'm not so into mushrooms for whatever reason.
For sure, but you can have kind of epiphanies on those as well. Yeah. LSD as well.
I will say, with going back to the original point, there is a hard filter on the ceremony. They call it medicine, not a drug. Mm-hmm. Two different intents. You take a drug to get effed up, and you take a medicine to get better. If you have any psychology complications in your past, they won't let you do it.
All right.
Basically, at least at the place that I went.
A responsible shaman.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Now, I'm sure we can find some shady shamans out there.
Oh, 100%.
I got all what you need.
100%. Those kind of things, though, I mean, sometimes people go through a trauma, like a car accident or whatever, and they'll detach from reality. That's what basically, as I understand psychosis. I've have some people in my life. One person has borderline personality disorder, and they call it borderline because they just bump up against different kinds of psychosis. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of sad because, it's usually, there's some genetic factors. There's usually rooted in extreme childhood trauma, and they just bump against like different kinds of personality things. But even something more benign. I was diagnosed with ADD. Mm-hmm. You can't take a blood test and say you have ADD. They call it practicing medicine for a reason, and sometimes medical opinions can change. So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to be like, oh, is this person a narcissist? Are they anxiously attached? Are they avoidant? Are they having psychosis? I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough. It's tough because you never want to be a dick to somebody who's really struggling with something they can't control. Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
But
then you also don't want to be a doormat to an asshole that's, taking advantage of you.
That's kind of the battle, right? Because I've had a tough time, in business and relationships. Is if you can understand why they're that way, or if they used to say, oh, you have a drinking problem, but then they started labeling alcoholism as a disease, and then you have like a lot more sympathy for those people, and it's like, okay, but like that shitty thing still hurt me just as much.
Yeah, for sure.
Or that really, so there's a balance to it. Those kind of people, they got to try to help and heal themselves,
I get a lot of flack from, like, if I explain, this guy said this or whatever, and they're like, you need to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, but I discovered that when he was 5, blah, blah, blah. For me, no, it's not acceptable. Maybe you say and do things that might purposely hurt my feelings and it's not acceptable. But for me, knowing the reason for your behavior goes a long way for me.
Oh, it's kind of like when someone is an asshole to you and they give you a sincere apology. It's if someone really feels bad about being a jerk, you almost can go. You almost can.
That's cool, man.
You almost can make that relationship be stronger.
You have to have
Absolutely.
and become. You ever have that where you're enemies with somebody and all of a sudden some kind of cool moment happens together where it brings you together and you're stronger and that can happen.
Yeah,
it really is.
Self-awareness is like I'm like Vickie. If self-awareness and accountability gives you so much rope with me, but people like Vickie and I, like, we're straight empaths. I think we all are, and
Absorbing
so also you can get taken advantage of with your empathy to a point, like, there's 2 lines and boundaries, right? But then you start to hover in this gray area, and you're like, all right, at a certain point, it's not my job to fix them, and I can only take so much hurt. And, if you imagine a metaphor, if someone's standing on a wall, someone's standing on the ground, say the wall's like 3 feet high, it's way easier for that person to pull that person standing on the wall down than it is to pull that person up. And that unfortunately happens a lot. You get around people, and usually the more toxic, nefarious situation ends up pulling the...
Yeah.
So you got to be real. You got to be real careful.
Well, speaking of being careful, for our last clip of the segment, I don't know if you guys have heard this. This is pretty intense. A tornado hits a South Florida TV station during a live broadcast. We played this on the KVJ show. This is some intense tornado activity during a live broadcast. And imagine realizing you're live on the air and there's a tornado going on.
This is a look at the live camera of a tornado, which could be passing by our station right now. Take shelter. Everybody in the Fox 35 building, get to your safe space. We're catching debris right now on the roof. You can see the debris flying there on the camera. This is a tornado. Seek shelter immediately. Get under your desks, guys. Anchors under the desks. Okay, we got power flickering out. This is a confirmed tornado. Okay. I've been doing this for a very long time. That's the first time a tornado has hit while I'm doing the weather.
That guy's got the biggest weather boner.
Oh, he's loving it.
I mean, I'm sure he's scared, but there's part of him going, shit, yeah. Tornado during the broadcast. This is amazing.
That's crazy.
It's like a ghost picking up a mic for you.
I mean, you're right. If a ghost walked by right now, we would be so pumped about that. I thought that was insane audio. Vickie, you ever been through a tornado?
I didn't realize it was, but there was a tornado that went through the backyard of my mom's house, and I was sitting probably 10 feet, obviously, in the house. And I heard it, and I was like, why is that so loud? But one time I was smart enough, I didn't open the door and look out. And then when I went out, it had, like, threw everything off. It shattered the table, threw things in the pool, did all kinds of damage, and it literally was like 10 feet from me.
Oh.
When I was a kid, I mean... They always talked about tornadoes, but you'd never see them. And then there was the storms were coming, and there was a funnel cloud. You could see it from our house. And I just remember being a child, and it was just a funnel cloud. So it wasn't anything, or basically a water spout, I should say, right off the intercoastal. And it wasn't even that big, but it just looked so ominous and creepy. Yeah. To me, tornadoes, the T-8 is the scariest one out of all of them.
Yeah.
they scare the shit out of me.
They're the most destructive.
They are.
They just
They're
come out of the blue.
uncontrollable.
They come out of the blue.
Yeah.
And they just go wherever
Literally.
they want. Yeah, they do.
I mean, insane.
Well, a lot of hurricane damage is actually the tornadoes.
The wind damage.
They get like thrown off the tornadoes, like off the pressure systems and the swirls. Like the tornadoes are the ones that really mess things up.
It's funny. I lived in Colorado for a while, and they're terrified of hurricanes. And Floridians, we live here and we just live our lives, but they just think about how hurricanes to them are the most terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that said, it might be time for some
Denny's Random Facts.
Our sweet Denny's, he does a great job hunting for the best factoids out there in the land. Vickie, our educator, she grades them. If she loves it, she gives it an A. If she hates it, she gives him an F. Denny's, the floor is yours.
How much do you guys know about lobster mating rituals?
Oh, dude, so much.
Well,
Wrote my thesis on it.
I bring it up just because they might have one of the more bizarre. I brought up hippos in the past, where their kind of habits is they fart into each other's faces, and it kind of woos.
Was that foreplay?
Yeah, that's what they would do. They would blast each other with poo and stuff.
Wow.
Hippos, they love that. So lobsters, when it comes to the female lobster, they want the biggest, baddest lobsters. So what they do is they have two lobsters fight each other, and the first round of the fighting involves them slapping each other with closed claws.
Is it the two males fighting?
The two males fighting in front of the female.
And she's just there.
She sits and watches to see who's the stronger of the lobsters.
She's just getting the lobster wet.
And then phase 2, they try to dismember each other. The crazy thing about lobsters is they can grow back their claws and stuff. But when they attack and they mate, they dismember each other. And so whoever wins that, the female goes over because the lobster's so hyped up from beating the other lobster's ass that she pees all in his face to calm him down.
The one she's going to mate with?
The one she's going to mate with.
God, this is some kinky shit.
There's a lot of kinky shit.
And the other crazy thing, they pee out of their face.
Denny's.
So the female lobster goes up and pisses into his face with her face.
No wonder they're so red.
If you keep going, Beckett is going to get a boner.
My mic's a little higher.
Once the male lobster calms down, he then pisses into her face to get her in the mood now.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you keep saying the word pissing like that?
That's what they're doing.
Like somebody owes you money. You're pissing me off, buddy.
So then he digs a cave because the woman, what she's going to do is she's going to go in there and take her shell off and then lay on her back for 2 days.
That's not true.
Wait.
Is that true?
Take her shell off?
They molt. She molts out of her shell,
Okay.
and then she lays in this hole, right? And then he doesn't even impregnate her. He takes his sperm and he stuffs it into her sacs. So
This is the most random fact I've ever
dude,
heard.
it's so random. So then,
Wait, there's more.
well, then he stands outside and guards the cave for 2 days while she grows a new shell around the stuffed full of semen sacs that she now has. Then when she feels like it later in life to get pregnant, up to 6 months, she can then just become pregnant. They separate and they no longer talk to each other unless he shows that he's the dominant male.
Oh, this sounds so toxic.
It's pretty toxic.
And I don't think you should ever say semen sex again. I mean, what a story.
So after he's done, he eats the shell. And then he bounces. Yeah.
You just gave us a trilogy.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like a Travis Tritt music video trilogy. There's a
Rock
whole
lobster.
series.
Rock lobster.
Wow. There was so much, there's no way I could pass a quiz. It blew my mind too much.
I guess their urine is so concentrated that if you watch it when they shoot it out of their faces, you can actually see it.
Oh, don't say urine. Say what you really want to say. Pissing.
When they're pissing all over each other.
Yeah, but they're at the bottom of the ocean, so it's not bad. Like if you got peed on in the shower, you're not as pissed off about it.
That's why it has
right?
to be so concentrated. It's because they're underwater.
Right.
So it has to.
Well,
They have to get the piss on them.
Just your research and presentation alone, I'd be shocked if you don't get an A. But it's not up to me. Vickie.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah, I need a cigarette after that.
God.
Yeah, you
I thought
so
that was coming next in his story.
For real.
you so made up for last week's C average.
Yes.
A plus.
If you just type it in lobster's mating ritual, that whole thing will pop up.
What if you type in lobsters pissing?
You're gonna get a lot of pissing whether you want it or not.
I mean, that is up there with bicycle face.
Oh, it's crazy.
Factoid.
Pissing on each other.
It's great stuff.
So, I guess there was a point where humans almost became extinct. We got reduced down to 1% population. And it's a long ass time ago, 900,000 years ago. It was during Homo erectus before we became Homo sapien. So it was that last phase, but they reduced down to 1,280 existing reproducible people at that time. And then they sustained that number, 1% population, for 117,000 years.
Wow.
They could never break through a higher population. Just think about how long ago that was. They say that Homo sapiens, us, about 300,000 years ago we appeared. So we've been...
Well, there was Homo sapiens, but we're Homo sapiens sapiens. Right?
So, yeah, we're the most current iteration,
Right.
but the original Homo erectus would be 300,000 years ago.
Wow.
Vickie, I mean.
But just think about, so when you see the, whatever, whether you believe in it or not, but, if you see the evolution of humanity or, whatever, peoplehood, you'll see that we go through all of the different phases. All of those phases were hundreds of thousands of years apart. You feel like it was just boom, 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 boom. We just, each generation we kind of changed a little bit, but it was over a very long time.
And you see what they've projected for humans to look like in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now, right? The head goes up and wide.
We become aliens.
Quite like aliens.
It makes sense because if you look at Neanderthal, which went extinct, that was one of the last breedable with humans, I guess, coexisting.
So maybe they're not aliens. Maybe they're from the future.
Well, that's a theory that somebody has. Is
that people are coming from the future. We're interpreting them as aliens.
Yeah, he's some dude that's got all these degrees, and he goes, "Well, my theory is that these are not really aliens. They are us in the future, warning us."
In a way,
it makes the most sense.
In a way, it makes the most sense.
And they're saying they're coming through some portal or a time. It would
time
make
travel.
It
would make the most sense. You know how they disappear in the water, and why aren't they showing themselves? Because it's like Back to the Future. They can't mess up the timeline.
It's a theory that I thought was quite interesting. I don't personally think that's what it is.
It's very cool,
but I thought it was cool. I never heard that before.
Both things can be true at the same time.
But yeah, if you look, humans a long time. I say we've evolved from big lugs to now, like you're saying, big heads, smaller hands, because we don't need to protect ourselves really.
And like we talked about before, we're at some weird changeover of evolution where some people are born with all 4 wisdom teeth and they have room to come in. Some people are born, they have to surgically get them removed, and then other people just aren't born without wisdom teeth.
Look, I don't want to brag.
It's like a weird transition of evolution.
I don't want to brag.
There's people now without wisdom teeth for sure.
Well, I don't want to brag, but me and my mother both had an extra bone in her foot.
Oh, excellent. I have one extra bone in my foot as well.
Oh, well, look at you.
Did you only 1 foot, though.
I think it's only 1 foot, I think, for me, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. Mine's not that cool.
Mine's not cool either.
All right, thanks for knowing out my cool story.
Thanks for being on me.
Thanks for pissing all over my story.
Pissing in my face.
Vickie, we went a little bit of a tangent there. But,
yeah, that's another A.
Okay,
I mean, keep going.
The honor roll, kid.
So, are you guys familiar with the Game of Life?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun game, right?
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That game is super old. I didn't realize how old it is, but so the Game of Life's old. It has changed a lot over the 160 years that it's been out. For instance, they removed the cards suicide, ruin, poverty, jail, prison, and disgrace from the game because they felt that they were too harsh.
They took all the things that happened in real life and they took them out of the Game of Life.
It's funny you say that because Milton Bradley or whatever, he at the time owned the monopoly in the area for all the printing presses he had, and he went to capitalize on Abraham Lincoln becoming president. So he printed a ton of Abe Lincoln posters and stuff that people could buy. With his lithograph. The problem was Lincoln, when he was getting elected, decided to grow his beard out, which he had not done before, and he ran the campaign with the beard or whatever, and Milton Bradley lost a ton of money because they made all of these and nobody recognized him without the beard. Wow. So he made the Game of Life based on the ups and downs of his own life and the feelings that he had, and then over time, after he died, they thought he was a little harsh with some of them, so they changed some of the pieces out. Obviously, they took out, suicide, disgrace. So, but yeah, that's the story behind that. Also, he didn't like gambling. He was a really religious man, which is why Life's the only game that has that turn. The way that you get your number is you turn that dial.
Yeah,
it's the only one that has that because he didn't want gambling, which is synonymous with the devil at the time, and he was a very religious.
Yeah,
dude.
I remember when being a little kid, gambling was looked at a little bit differently. Now it seems like
now they got apps.
Betting apps. Come on, everyone's bet your life away, and it's
for a long time it was very bad.
Even when I was a little kid, it wasn't as bad as back in the day because my dad would tell me stories, but you still had to be careful with betting, and I feel like it's not like that these days.
Yeah. I think they encourage it. I feel like a lot of the sins is harsh. All of the enjoyments of life are just
the sweets of the world.
They're very celebrated now. I feel like everybody celebrates them, at least here in America. It feels like they're glorified. So
Pot, porn,
all that stuff.
gambling, guns, whatever, AI. At a certain point in social media, we just decided, we just said, screw it.
Or even series like, you know,
Or just
Man
open it all
vs.
up.
Food and stuff where they're doing extreme challenges. Like we're very much like that.
Well, I remember when we would used to do a ton of food competitions on the show, and I mean I was terrible at them, but I kept doing them all the time. It made me feel awful, but there's definitely a percentage of people who were against it just on a moral level to go, you're wasting food for entertainment, and other people, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to eat a bunch of burgers here. But there is a absolute, there's a mind frame out there of going, I hate those kind of contests. Other countries hate those kind of contests.
They do. It's very
it's looked at as taboo.
I have listen, you guys have a thing with pizza. I'm all here for it. But I will say, when I was younger, it didn't really bother me. The Nathan's hot dog contest, it kind of grosses me out.
It grosses
me
me out
It's a
so
little ridiculous.
So
That's an extreme example, but like that example, I'm like, what are we doing?
I think there's a difference between being grossed out and then being offended by it.
I'm not offended.
Yeah, but I get why.
Yeah.
They break it in half, dip it in water in their mouth.
It's disgusting.
It just is so repulsive.
It's so gross. How many hot dogs do you think you could eat if you had to, Vickie, in 1 hour? If not, if you don't eat 15 hot dogs, Bert gets it. He's done.
Bye.
Bye. I'm done.
15 hot dogs.
15.
You too,
Ugh.
Denny's.
Yeah.
Beckett,
too.
Can you save me with 15?
I can.
Okay.
I would get 15 down.
Are they foot long or normal?
They're normal dogs.
Okay, yeah, that's doable.
Are they vegan?
They have some good plant-based dogs.
Nah, we don't have to turn this into. No. Denny's, I'm dead. There's no way you could do 15.
I would do 15 for you.
What? That does not sound confident. I'm as good as dead.
I'll do my best, but 15 an hour.
You got to put me on that wall.
Denny's, wrap it up with a great one. I mean, you're nailing it. That was a great. What do you give that one, Vickie?
That was a B.
Okay.
That's still good.
On a roll.
Bradley.
Yeah.
Milton. What do you guys think about this? This is kind of just cool. Ancient Europeans believed that if you ground up the bones of the greatest warriors and the most sacred animals and mixed them with the iron when forging your sword, that your sword would contain their spirits and become stronger. And weirdly, that is true. It proved true, but not for the reason they thought it would. It proved true because of science. They thought it was because of the spirits invest. But basically, little did they know that grinding up bones and adding them to the mix created carbon, and carbon steel is much stronger than just simple iron, which they didn't even know that they were converting into. Mm-hmm. Also, the calcium in the bones would bind with the oxygen to form calcium oxide, which protected the steel from atmospheric impurities. So when they used it, it kept like a protective layer around it. Mm-hmm. Those two things made their swords actually stronger and better, which they attributed to, investing the spirits of their loved ones into.
Makes sense.
I like it. An A.
Denny's.
Just a fun one. Little science.
That is a great Denny's random fact. Great job, everybody here, with your segments. I loved them. I think the people loved them as well. We are going to be at the Rust Market this weekend. I want to make sure to mention that to the good people out there in Lake Park of Park Avenue. It starts at 9. It's a free event.
9 to 2.
What's the best way to describe it for someone who's never been out there? How would you describe it, Mr. Denny's?
I said they got a lot of collectibles, eclectic items. You could find just oddities, curiosities, stuff like that, I'd say. Plus, it's a lot of fun. You can drink some beers while you walk around.
Is it Saturday or Sunday?
It's Saturday. This Saturday. Would love to see you the good people out there.
Lake Park.
Lake Park. Vickie, you have anything to plug before we get the heck out of
Well,
here?
I wanted to, give guys a heads up, no pun intended, and women, a warning. I was informed that tomorrow, March 14th, is National Steak and Blowjob Day. So it is the male's answer to Valentine's Day, which is very female driven. This is the day where you gonna get steak and a blowjob.
It's because it's a month after.
Yes, it's a month after Valentine's Day.
I mean, that's pretty
That's
hilarious.
just such an amazing fact. I mean, I think you just big dick Denny's
Yeah.
on his own factoid game.
I didn't even know the day existed, but I hope it's being celebrated.
That is awesome. And then tomorrow on the KVJ show, I'm going to have an update that I did not bring up here that is ghost related, But I will tell Vickie after, and we'll get your thoughts for that on the KVJ show as well.
Can I plug one thing? So I just posted on the Weird and Whatever Instagram, so on the story, tonight will be a total lunar eclipse.
Oh, nice.
That will be visible in Florida, weather permitting.
It's going to look red, right?
Yeah.
It's the
So
blood
it'd be
moon?
the blood moon, the full blood moon.
Very cool. Good note, Beckett.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very nice.
Don't forget, too, if you are a songwriter, we want you to bring in your songs, throw in your original music. We want to play any kind of genre. This week, we're going to play one of our songs. It's someone's birthday, a special person named Milton. And I'm sorry, not Milton.
Bradley?
No, not Milton. Clinton. I'm so sorry. I got Milton on the brain. Clinton, he's turning 75 today.
Wow.
And he loves this song that Denny's and I did back in the day. It's called Breakdown. Funny about me.
Yeah, we were talking about breakdowns today.
Kind of all working together. Yeah. So, this one's one of ours, but make sure you send us your music. We want to play it, and I don't care what kind of music it is. Let us know. Danny's best place to send it.
I say mail at KVJ Show still the best because that's what email that I check every day.
Okay, happy birthday, Milton/Clinton. I'm so sorry I butchered your birthday. This one's for you. We love you all, and Bigfoot is real.
Pressure's getting to me. I am the king of anxiety. I swear to God I'm out to lunch, talking mentally. I shoot myself in the foot each and every day. Someone tell me why I can't wish this away. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm only having a breakdown. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. The more I accumulate, the more chaos I seem to create. Something's not right, I'm uptight, I lost fight, I don't know my place. And my mind doesn't blank, I don't know what to say. Give me reasons why I can't wish this away.